every night at the end of every workday, I want you to write down something you achieved during the day. And then if you're not working and you're job searching or you're in between, still write something down, because with 5 days in the week, 52 weeks in the year, that's over 200 accomplishments a year you'll have written down. And that can be a really powerful activity to boost your confidence.
You're listening to Make Some Noise podcast, episode number 421 with guest Kyle Elliott. Welcome to Make Some Noise podcast, your guide for strategies, tools, and insight to empower yourself. I'm your host, Andrea Owen, global speaker, entrepreneur, life coach since 2007, and author of 3 books that have been translated into 18 languages and are available in 22 countries. Each week, I'll bring you a guest or a lesson that will help you maximize unshakable confidence, master resilience, and make some noise in your life. You ready? Let's go. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the podcast. I am so glad you are here. You know what's making me smile and be so happy lately? Those of you who are tagging me on Instagram, there's some kind of app or something that tells you the most you've listened to a certain podcast. I did not explain that very well, but the amount of time that you spend on any particular podcast gives you like your top 5 or something like that. And I am so freaking honored that I am on these lists. Some of you listen to me like more hours in the year of 2021 than any other podcast. And I am so grateful that you choose to spend your time with me and my guests. And that being said, I think that 2022 is going to be even better in terms of the podcast because I am categorizing topics. So the first couple of months, and it might not start the very first week of January. Like I gotta plan things out because I tend to not sometimes. So we're going to do the topic of therapy and mental health. And then we're going to have a couple of months of spirituality and creativity. We're going to have a couple of months of self-care for women. We're going to have a couple of months of women's health, which I'm really excited about. Let's see what else. We're going to also do one. I can't remember. We're going to talk about money. We're going to talk about feminism, and they're going to be organized. Yay for organization. Okay, so I'm really excited about that for next year. Please stay tuned and subscribe so you are notified that the new episodes drop. I'm also going to do some mini-sodes in between weeks with just me talking about things. I'm either going to be talking about the episode that just aired, or I'm going to be talking about maybe some things that I'm seeing, pop culture wise or in the news or books that I'm reading, something, because survey says, when we sent out that survey a while back, that a lot of you wanted to hear those little mini-sodes, maybe 10 minutes or so. Okay, so we're going to get those too. This week, we have Kyle on, Caffeinated Kyle, as he calls himself. And this episode is for anyone who kind of struggles to find your strengths. Like, what am I great at? What makes me fabulous? That's his specialty. And he also talks about careers. So switching careers or finding what is your specialty to be able to advance yourself in a career. And I can't wait for you to listen to this episode. Also, if you haven't already and you're interested, we have some openings for the new year for private coaching. My 2 lead coaches, Liz and Sabrina, and I also have 1 opening for private coaching. You can come with sort of like your primary focus, like this is the things that I want to work on. I need to set better boundaries. I need to make myself a priority with my self-care. And I'm feeling so overwhelmed. How do I do that? That would be Liz and Sabrina's specialty, among many other things. And mine is, well, you could go through the daring way, which is all about shame work. And I don't mean to laugh about it. My chuckle there is because it is the deep end. It very much is the deep end where we walk into the behaviors that make you your inauthentic self, that make you, as Brene Brown says, hustle for your worthiness. And I wrote all about that in How to Stop Feeling Like Shit. All those 14 habits that you all read about, that's what we uncover in this deeper work with me. AndreaOwen.com/apply. And you can also let us know specifically what it is that you want to work on in that application. And that will help us with the next step in figuring out if coaching is right for you, or if it's something else, and maybe who would be the best person to hop on the phone with for a consultation. So AndreaOwen.com/apply. And let me tell you a little bit about today's guest. Kyle Elliott is the founder and career coach behind caffeinatedkyle.com. As a result of working with Kyle, senior managers and executives have landed jobs at Facebook, LinkedIn, Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and nearly every other Fortune 100 and 500 company you can think of. A trusted career expert, Kyle's words have been featured on Forbes, Fast Company, The Muse, and The Ladders, among dozens of other leading publications. He is an official member of the invitation-only Forbes Coaches Council, a member of the Gay Coaches Alliance, and a certified health education specialist. So without further ado, here is Kyle. Kyle, welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I am curious first and foremost about, so on social media and on your website, you are Caffeinated Kyle. So where did that come from? Is it just like you love coffee that much, or tell us about that? I'm curious.
Yeah, so it has a double meaning. I do love coffee. I'm literally drinking my second coffee of the day right now. Soy milk, sugar-free vanilla, love it. And then that second meaning is I help people caffeinate their careers, their job searches, their lives. And before the pandemic, a lot of that was over coffee. I would teach people how to go from meeting people on LinkedIn to having coffee in person. And now those are virtual coffees. But really, it's this love of coffee and then integrating that into people's job searches, their careers, their lives.
Okay, so I get it. So it's like almost using it as a way to come together that isn't alcohol. And I like that because I'm sober. So
yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly.
Well, tell us about your journey and how did you get to start doing this work?
Yes. So I'm the founder and career coach behind caffeinatedkyle.com, but I did not grow up saying, hey, I want to be a career coach. I want to write resumes when I grow up. I don't think a lot of people think that when they're younger. The only career coach I knew was my university career counselor. I didn't know people ran coaching businesses. So when I was an undergraduate, I learned of Fiverr. It's a marketplace where you can literally charge $5 for different gigs. There was people who...
I have used Fiverr before.
Yes. A lot of people use it for voiceover, for copywriting. And I was like, hey, I could review resumes. I could write LinkedIn profile summaries for $5. So I did that. After Fiverr took their cut, I made like $3.75. So I'd have to write 2 LinkedIn profile summaries or review 2 resumes to make my cut. But it was cool as a college student to have some extra money. Well, that quickly grew. I started getting clients from LinkedIn, from Craigslist, raised my rates, and fast forward a few years, and I ended up deciding to leave my full-time job to run my side hustle full-time. And then fast forward another 4 years, and now it's been a total of 8 years doing this. And I've built this coaching business, this resume writing business, doing that, primarily serving people in Silicon Valley, high tech, who are looking to get jobs at Facebook, LinkedIn, Google, you name it.
So I know that you work with people doing that and you know, around career coaching and having amazing resumes. And I also know that you help people, it kind of like life coaching 101 and achieving happiness, not only in their careers, but in their lives. And, you know, obviously we spend a lot of time in our careers, so it's directly related. So what do you think is the biggest barrier as you've worked with clients when it comes to them achieving happiness in both their career and in their life?
So whether someone is looking for a new job, they're thinking about a career change, they want to launch a new business, they want to grow their current business, confidence is the biggest barrier. At least 95% of the conversations I have with people center around confidence. And it may not be on the surface when they say, hey, Kyle, I'm thinking about applying for this role, or hey, Kyle, I'm thinking about leaving my current marriage, or hey, Kyle, I'm thinking about asking for a salary raise. However, as soon as we start peeling away that onion, I realize confidence is at the root of almost every single issue people face, or really lack of confidence is the center issue that so many people face and is holding them back from achieving what they really want.
So can you give us an example of maybe you have someone who you find out that confidence is the issue. Where do you start with them in creating some solutions for them?
Yes. So what's really key is reflecting on what you've already achieved. I find the people I work with are really amazing. The people listening to this podcast, I'm sure, are really amazing. They've likely already achieved a lot of great stuff. So I think it's important to take time to reflect and document those accomplishments. What I love doing is starting an accomplishment journal. Almost all of my clients have this as one of their first homework assignments because confidence usually comes up in the first call, the first coaching session, if not just that consultation. And I say, I want you to keep an accomplishment journal. Every night at the end of every work day, I want you to write down something you achieved during the day. And then if you're not working and you're job searching or you're in between, still write something down because with 5 days in the week, 52 weeks in the year, that's over 200 accomplishments a year you'll have written down. And that can be a really powerful activity to boost your confidence. It can help you with imposter syndrome. It can help you really just document this written proof of what makes you fabulous and help you boost your confidence to say, hey, I really did achieve stuff today. Because as a society, we're just not used to taking time to reflect on all the amazing stuff we've done.
I love that. It reminds me of, I don't know if you saw this going around. It was a few years ago where people would have the gratitude jar and they would get like either an empty coffee can or a mason jar and put things in there and then read it back at the end of the year.
Shopify's already taken the cash register online, helping millions sell billions around the world. But did you know that Shopify can do the same thing at your retail store? Give your point of sale system a serious upgrade with Shopify. With Shopify, you get a powerhouse selling partner that effortlessly unites your in-person and online sales into one source of truth. Track every sale across your business in one place and know exactly what's in stock. Connect with customers inline and online. Shopify helps you drive store traffic with plug-and-play tools built for marketing campaigns from TikTok to Instagram and beyond. Get hardware that fits your business. Take payments by smartphone, transform your tablet into a point of sale system, or use Shopify's POS Go mobile device for a battle-tested solution. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/noise, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/noise to take your retail business to the next level today. Shopify.com/noise. Fast forward to the end of 2024 and think about your goals. What can you do right now to give yourself the best chance of succeeding? If you want to learn a new language, you absolutely should get Babbel. Don't pay hundreds of dollars for private tutors or waste hours on apps that don't really help you speak the language. Babbel's quick 10-minute lessons are handcrafted by over 200 language experts to help you start speaking a new language in as little as 3 weeks. Babbel's designed by real people for real conversations. Studies from Yale, Michigan State University, and others continue to prove Babbel is better. One study found that using Babbel for 15 hours is equivalent to a full semester at college. Now it's so easy to speak simple conversation phrases with the guy that takes care of my lawn without having to consult language apps. Here's a special limited time deal for our listeners. Right now, get up to 60% off your Babbel subscription, but only for our listeners at babbel.com/noise. Get up to 60% off at babbel.com/noise, spelled BABBEL.com/noise. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Yes, I love that. I think that's so powerful. And I think a lot of times people struggle to find it internally, their own gratitude. So I'm also a fan of looking externally for it, texting some friends, colleagues, supervisors, and say, hey, what makes me fabulous? And don't say, hey, you're listening to this great podcast. But just say, hey, what makes me fabulous? And see what people say back to you. Screenshot their responses, print it out and put it in that gratitude jar. And then look back at it when feelings of inadequacy pop up, because they're going to pop up, and it can be helpful to have some documented proof written down that you can reflect back on.
I love that. I one exercise that I do with clients who are struggling in this area that is similar is that I have them go back and either read testimonials from people or emails that they've gotten or greeting cards where someone has taken the time to write about how much they care about someone or how much they mean to them, and not just read it, but the assignment is to really sit with because I work with women and the majority of the time they are incredibly uncomfortable at receiving the praise and love that they are given in those moments. Do you find the same thing with your clients?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. And I love having them read it and then read it multiple times aloud. And they're like, this is so awkward. I'm not used to receiving this praise and sitting in it and absorbing it. And I love that you do that exercise with people. I have a whiteboard next to me and I literally have a bunch of the thank you cards I've received from clients and other people. And I look at them whenever I'm like, oh, I'm not feeling 100% right now, to just boost my confidence, because that written proof is so powerful.
Well, and it's interesting, the science around it. And I'm sure you've read about this around our negativity bias that we have, and our brains automatically focus on maybe the negative review or the quote unquote opportunity. What is it called? Opportunity for growth on those. Yeah. Those annual reviews, but we jump over all the great things that our employer has said about us. And I'm guilty of it too. I have made it a point to really read every single word. I've always read them, the emails that come in of people talking about my work or my books, but I really take the time to sink in. I mean, and I look at it like this. Someone has taken the time to sit down and write a note. And it just, to me, it's just being in integrity and giving that person, honoring the time that they spent. So that's what I encourage people to do when they're reading their own emails and testimonials and cards that people have written them.
I love that. I love that you have that practice built in. And I love the idea of emails too, and greeting cards, and just really sitting with it. I think that's really important, which I love.
Yes. Well, so you're known for helping people, and I love that you use the word fabulous. You're known for helping people identify what makes them fabulous. So how does someone, do you have some kind of step-by-step process where people identify what it is exactly that makes them special and fabulous?
Yes. So I love that you talked about already looking at testimonials that people have had. So what I like doing with clients, and for people listening to this, is drawing a Venn diagram. So on the right side of the Venn diagram, you're going to have what people have already said about you, and externally how people see you. So this could be performance evaluations. This could be testimonials. It could be responses that people have sent when you just texted them, what makes me fabulous? So this is how the external world sees you right now. This is the brand you're putting out there. And then on the left side of the Venn diagram, what I want you to write out is what lit you up as a child? What brought you immense joy as a child? Before there was all these parameters put on you saying, here's what you need to do when you grow up. You need to make a salary, all of that. And then I want you to see where there's an overlap. So for me, when I was a child, I loved teaching. I loved educating. I had a huge whiteboard in my room in elementary school. I had a lesson planner. I would create worksheets for my parents. And then as an adult...
For your parents?
For my parents. I would literally create worksheets on our computer, print them out, and then say, hey, here's your worksheet. I'm going to grade it.
Oh, that's so cute. Oh my gosh. So you were essentially playing school?
Playing counselor. Okay. I was a therapist. I was coaching them.
I love it.
I was a teacher. Oh my gosh, you name it. And then as an adult, those are the same things that people say is what's fabulous about me. They say I'm a great coach, a great listener, a teacher, an educator. And then you look at the overlap. And the reason I like looking at that overlap with people is that's what stuck with you over the last 20, 30, 40, 50 years. This is the core of who you are. Even through all these life changes, these transitions, this is what stuck with you throughout this whole time and can't be removed. And this is the essence of what's fabulous about you.
Okay. I love that exercise. So what's your demographic? Do you mostly work with men and women? Do you work with women? What does that look like?
I mostly work with men and women, typically in their 40s, 50s, 60s, because they're senior managers and executives in tech in Silicon Valley.
Okay. Do you find that your clients are afraid to own what makes them amazing and fabulous, or do they embrace it when you do this exercise with them?
I get a lot of tears. I'm surprised by how often I get tears because a lot of people know it's there. They just haven't recognized it and owned it. So they're okay at identifying it, or at least the initial, here's 2 or 3 things that make me fabulous. And then peeling back the onion is hard for them to say, okay, here's what sets me apart from other people who are creative. And then the owning it is really difficult for people because it's scary to own what sets you apart from other people. It's scary to put yourself out there. And that's a really hard part for people. And then a lot of the tears come from just not hearing it. We're not used to complimenting each other and lifting each other up. A lot of people haven't received that love and support or haven't heard it, even from their friends that they're texting. They're like, oh my gosh, I've never heard you say this about me before. And it's really overwhelming.
One of the things that I often do for my clients is I actually take them through a curriculum, and one of the first lessons is around their support system and their friends and around trust. So an assignment I give them is to either text, call, or send a handwritten card to their closest friend or friends where you're telling them how much they mean to you and be specific. And I feel like we are acknowledgement starved in this world, and it's vulnerable for both parties, the person writing it and the person receiving it. And Brené Brown talks about how trust is built in small increments over time. And that is one of those things, those small increments. And I love that I love and I don't love that people are getting emotional because to me, it tells them, you're cracking something open in them. And it's just, what a beautiful exercise.
And I think people aren't used to getting positive feedback either. Because I know when I work with clients, whether it's their elevator pitch, their resume, their 30, 60, 90-day plan, I'm like, oh, this is really great. I like this part of it. This is great. Oh, I love this. They're like, wait, you're giving me positive feedback. I'm not used to receiving positive feedback. Usually when people give me feedback, they're pointing out everything they don't like. I've never had someone say great when reading through something or say, oh, I love how you said this. I've only had them tear it to shreds. And I love that both of us are working to really just add more positivity and add more appreciation into people's lives.
How can people more confidently own their fabulousness once they find out and pinpoint what it is?
So it's a huge, huge risk to put yourself out there. It's super scary. A lot of people are worried, okay, what if I put myself out there and I fail? What if people don't like my authentic, true self? And then on the flip side, which is even more scarier, I think, is what if I succeed? What if I put myself out there and people like me? And then every day I have to show up and be authentic and vulnerable and transparent and honest.
And sustain it.
And sustain it. Oh my gosh. Yes. Right. That's exhausting. You get that vulnerability hangover that Brené Brown talks about. What I like doing is having people think of some of the best moments in their lives. For me, it was moving to San Francisco and now moving to Santa Barbara. It was proposing to my partner. It was leaving my full-time job to devote 100% of my time to my business. And for those listening, if you list out the best moments in your life, I can promise you that they all have one thing in common, and that's risk. So if you want more better moments in your life, you need to take more risks. And one of the riskiest things you can do is identify and share what makes you fabulous. And that's scary. It's risky. But as we just uncovered, the more risks you take, the more best moments you're going to have. So take the risk, share your fabulousness, and know that it's going to lead to more great moments.
The more risk you take, the more best moments you're going to have. Put that on a t-shirt, Kyle. You're going to make $1 million.
I love it because it's scary, but every person I've worked with who's went out there and shared it, yes, there's people who don't like it, but there's so many more people who embrace them, accept them, and they have so many amazing moments that come forward.
Okay, well, I want to ask you, because I have not had that many career coaches on the podcast. You may be like the second of like almost 400 episodes. But I want to ask, because I left the corporate world, 15 years ago. So it's been a minute since I've been over there. I'm curious, when people come to you, I'm assuming they know what they're getting into because you're pretty transparent on your site. But do they think that it's going to be all logistics, like resume, LinkedIn stuff, 30, 60, 90-day plan? Or do they know that they're going to dive into some deeper kind of life coaching stuff? Like, do you surprise them?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think people often know it's going to be a little bit, but at least 90% of people reach out to me saying, Kyle, I need a resume. That's it. Because not a lot of people say, hey, I need a life coach. I don't think you Google, I need a life coach. People say, I need a resume. And then as we peel back the layers, we realize, okay, it's a lot more here. It's imposter syndrome. It's confidence. It's maybe it's not my career. I actually have a great career, but I struggle with work-life balance. I struggle assertively communicating with my boss or my partner or my children. So sometimes people know what we're going to get into, but oftentimes they're surprised, not just what I uncover, but what they themselves are willing to discover and uncover as time goes on.
That's what I was guessing might be the case. I love that. I was just curious. I also want to know, I want to switch gears for a little bit and let's talk about logistics. And so I read on your site that you are a LinkedIn top voice. I just need to know what that is. And how do you get, it's like LinkedIn's highest honor. You want to some kind of gold medal. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So LinkedIn top voice, there's 700 plus million people who use LinkedIn. And for each category, mine was job search and careers. They choose 10 people who best represent LinkedIn's goals in that category. And I was chosen in 2019 for that honor, which was huge. The amount of traffic I got was overwhelming. And it was just really amazing to get that honor and get recognized for the work I was doing, because my approach to LinkedIn is much different. It's putting my fabulousness out there. A lot of people say, here's 10 resume tips, wham, bam, done. And what I like doing is sharing my partner, sharing us going to Pride, sharing about my mental health challenges, talking about things that other people aren't talking about on the platform. And from my understanding, that's a big reason they chose me for that huge honor.
Because you're taking risks.
Exactly. And I think people don't realize is, yes, when you take a risk, you're going to push people away who don't align with you, but you're going to make room for the people who do align with you.
I want to ask you another question about LinkedIn, because I know that the large majority of my audience, I have a combination of, there are some entrepreneurs, which, I'm not saying they don't need LinkedIn. A lot of times they do. And some 9-to-5ers. And I, please forgive the rudimentary way I'm going to ask this question because I don't know LinkedIn that well, but what is something, and maybe I need to preface it with the type of person, COVID shook up a lot of people, if not everyone. And whether someone is just looking at their career and wanting to make a career change, or maybe get a promotion or switch companies altogether, or go back into the workforce from being an entrepreneur, what is the first thing that they need to look at on their LinkedIn profile?
It's hard to find a great mentor who can help me level up. My dream mentor, Shonda Rhimes. So I was really excited when I heard she has a class on Masterclass. With Masterclass, you can learn from the best to become your best. Masterclass is the only streaming platform where you can learn and grow with over 200 plus of the world's best. For just $10 a month, an annual membership with Masterclass gets you unlimited access to every instructor. And you can access Masterclass on your phone, computer, smart TV, or even in audio mode. I'm always looking for ways to be a better writer, so I took Shonda Rhimes' screenwriting class. It helped me gain concrete technical advice, including structuring, the writing process, and with shows under her belt like Grey's Anatomy and Bridgerton, it was so helpful. Plus, every new membership comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Don't wait another moment to start your learning journey with Masterclass. Right now, our listeners get an additional 15% off any annual membership at masterclass.com/Andrea. That's 15% off at masterclass.com/Andrea. Masterclass.com/Andrea. I have definitely been in that place where my paycheck ran out before the next one got here. Life doesn't happen bi-weekly, so why should payday? The money you earn can be in your hands today with Earnin. Earnin is an app that gives you access to your pay as you work, up to $100 per day or up to $750 per pay period. Just download the Earnin app and verify your paycheck. Then access up to $100 a day as you work and leave an optional tip. Any money you access plus tips are automatically repaid from your next paycheck. You can use Earnin to pay for a girls' night out, a last-minute gift for a loved one, or even summer camp for the kids. Make Earnin a part of your financial routine and join Earnin's over 3.5 million customers who say things like, when I think about Earnin, I think about financial stability, security. It gives me a lot of peace of mind. Download Earnin today, spelled EARNIN, in the Google Play or Apple App Store. When you download the Earnin app, type in noise under podcast when you sign up. It really, really helps the show. Noise under podcast. Subject to your available earnings, location, daily max, and pay period max. See earnin.com/TOS for details. Earnin is a financial technology company, not a bank. Bank products are issued by Evolve Bank and Trust, member FDIC.
So what I would focus on is really speaking the language of your target audience. Right now, I have a lot of people switching careers. I work with a lot of people in tech. So I have people coming from retail, from hospitality, who are saying, hey, Kyle, I want to move into tech. So instead of using language like guests or customers that we see in hospitality and retail, you want to use language like users, which they use in tech. So these teeny changes can be really powerful. So when writing LinkedIn profiles, what I like doing is finding a job posting of a role you're interested in and literally printing it out. And then as you add the language to your LinkedIn profile, highlight it or cross it off so you know you're speaking their language rather than your own language. And you can literally copy and paste the job posting into your LinkedIn profile, then massage it until it's the truth and fits your background and experience and accomplishments.
That's so interesting. Okay. That's like just one little tip that could change everything.
It can. And then I think the second piece is a lot of people will make this amazing LinkedIn profile. It'll read great. And then they sit there and wait and say, why aren't people visiting my LinkedIn profile? I think it's kind of like a new website. People write a website and then say, why is no one on my website?
If I build it, they will come.
Yes.
Attitude. Yeah. I've done that before.
Exactly. But you have to reach out to people. So if you want to break into tech or you want to break into marketing, whatever role you're interested in, LinkedIn, what I love about the platform is there's over 700 million people on it. And you're just a click away. So reach out to people in your target role and say, hey, I see that you work at Facebook as a sales director. I used to work as a sales director at Hyatt, for example. Do you have 20 minutes to chat, share best practices, talk about the culture, talk about your application process, your interview, the culture, whatever, and learn because that person, one, already went through the interview process. They already landed a job and they can tell you if they like or don't like their job. And two, if things go well, they can introduce you to the hiring manager or give you an internal referral link. So I think that's a really big but missed opportunity that a lot of job seekers don't pursue, is reaching out to people in their dream roles.
Oh my gosh, there's so much for me to learn on this topic. Okay. My next question, now that we've opened this door, I'm curious about COVID and what was the biggest one or two things that you saw happen with people reaching out to you? I'm assuming it was a decent amount of people who had unfortunately lost their jobs and needed to update their resumes. And was there anything else that you saw that was interesting?
Yeah, so I had a lot of people reaching out who were negatively impacted by the pandemic.
Yeah.
And then I also had a lot of people who were employed but not happily employed. So there was a lot of uncertainty that employees had. And they said, hey, I don't know if my employer will be remote or not in 6 months, and I don't want to wait to find out. So a lot of people being proactive, saying, let's see if there's another role out there that's more transparent, who is going to tell me, hey, you're going to be working remotely in 6 months. You're going to be able to telecommute or have a flexible schedule. And really employees recognizing that they have a lot more power in the job search and they don't have to wait for their employer to really take the lead. And I think that's what we've seen over the last 12 months, 13 months of the pandemic, is employees have a lot of say. And if you're at an organization that you don't like, that you can go find somewhere else that's better for you.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I was just curious about that, because I know we have a lot of people listening who were probably in that position, either lost their job or really took the time to reflect on where they were at and if they wanted to make a change. So I'm curious about you. So we have a similar background. And you have a Bachelor of Science in Health Education. I have a Bachelor of Science in kinesiology with an emphasis on health science. And I'm curious, did you want to be a PE teacher? Like, did you have a different kind of path that you were going down and then made a switch?
Yes. So in undergrad, I originally wanted to do nursing. I wanted to be a nurse practitioner or a doctor. My major ended up getting full. So what happens if you go to California State University is if you get over a certain amount of units, you have to switch majors because the major is impacted. So I had to switch majors, switch to health education. And then at the same time, I realized, okay, maybe I don't want the schedule of a nurse practitioner or a doctor. I'll go into healthcare administration. So I went to graduate school in Seattle at the University of Washington. Then while I was there, I did quite a few informational interviews with people using that same method I described and said, hey, you're a COO at this hospital. I want to be a COO at a hospital. And all of them said, all of it is meetings and budgeting. That's what being a COO of a hospital is. And I'm like, I do not want to do that.
Some people might like that. Yeah.
Some people might, but I don't. I mean, I like meeting with clients, but I don't like meetings all day long and budgeting all day long. That's not two things that I like. So I was like, okay, maybe I'll go into nonprofits. And you'll see the theme here is all helping people. And then throughout this same period, my business just kept booming and growing and growing. So I had these different paths, but I kept getting pulled back to this resume writing, this career coaching and life coaching and small business coaching. So I had all these ideas, but then I ended up just getting drawn into the business, which I never planned on at all.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I was curious, like what made you kind of move over? And I think it is just, I know that some people are 17 or 18 years old and they know what they want to do for the rest of their lives. And that's it. But I just think it's so strange that we ask children, they're teenagers, but to make this decision. And so many times we don't know what we want to do until we do the thing that we thought we wanted to do and then realize that it's not for us. And I've met so many people 40 and up interesting people who still don't know what they want to do with their lives. And there's no shame in that. It is a hard decision.
I have so many people who come to me who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, who say, Kyle, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. I know it's not what I'm doing right now. Help me. And then we work to figure that out. And we go through a process to figure out, you don't want to be doing what you do now. What do you need in your next job? What do you want? What don't you want? What can't you have? And what's this going to look like? And how can we use all your transferable skills so you're not just starting over?
Right. Or, the network that they've built and so far. I'm very curious about interview coaching and where do you even start with that?
So a lot of my clients are really amazing. They've done great things. And I think what people struggle with is recognizing that what they think is normal or typical is not normal or typical. They'll say, I have weekly one-on-ones with my staff. I introduced daily stand-up meetings. I saved us $1 million in operating costs last year. They rattle off things as if they're normal when really they're amazing. And I think that's something that I struggle with is really to document and then be able to communicate all their accomplishments. So what I like doing is pulling those stories out of my client. What are 4, 5, 6 really powerful examples that demonstrate what make you fabulous and unique and different from other job seekers? And then how can we craft those into powerful stories that will work for any interview question that's thrown at you? Because what happens is people try and go Google the 100 most common interview questions. And then what happens is
I feel like they're dated.
They are. And then you're asked question 101, and then you're not ready and you freeze. So instead, I like crafting 4, 6 really great stories that you can then massage to any question that's thrown at you. So it's key talking points, kind of like a politician. They already know their 10 or 12 key talking points. I'm going to talk about Medicare and the war and all of that. And then you just massage it to the question that's thrown at you.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I feel like if I was going to be interviewed now and they said, like, what could you bring to this company? I would say, I am very likable and I have a lot of enthusiasm and energy. But it's true. Like, I don't know about my skills, but I get along with most everybody. Unless they're a complete asshole, then I'm lost. But Yeah, I'm going to get along with everybody and be everyone's friend.
It's hard to interview. It's so hard. And I think something to remember as a job seeker is that you don't do it for a living unless you are a news anchor, unless you are a politician, unless you are a PR director. You're not used to interviewing, and it's okay not to be amazing. They're not looking to see, are you an amazing interviewer? It's, can you do this job? And to not be too hard on yourself.
Okay, I have one more question, and that is, I'm very curious, what surprises you the most about the work you do with your clients?
I think what surprises me the most is how many unique, interesting jobs are out there. I'll have people reach out who say, hey, I do this. And I'm like, I didn't even know someone did that. For example, I had someone reach out and they're like, I decide how we place items in what order on grocery store shelves. And I guess I knew at like a high level someone did that, but the amount of science that goes into it, and there's whole teams that do it. And every day I'm learning about these jobs that I didn't even know existed. And I think it's so cool that all these jobs are out there and available to people. And I love helping people find jobs they love. And just knowing that more and more jobs are getting created every day means there's more and more possibility for people to find jobs they love.
That's fantastic. I love that answer. Thank you so much, Kyle, for coming on and telling us all of your wisdom around career coaching. And how can people find you and get to know more about your services?
Yeah, so I spend a lot of time on LinkedIn, Kyle Elliott with 2 L's and 2 T's, or my website, caffeinatedkyle.com.
Caffeinatedkyle.com. We're going to put all of that in the show notes. And thank you for listening, everyone. I am so incredibly grateful for your time. And remember, it's our life's journey to make ourselves better humans and our life's responsibility to make the world a better place. Bye, everybody.
Hi there. Swinging back by to say one more thing. You know how I'm always giving advice over here on the show and on social media. And a couple of those things is that I'm always telling you to ask for what you want, be clear about it, and also ask for help. So I am taking a dose of my own medicine, and I'm going to do that right now. It would be the absolute best and mean the world to me if you reviewed and subscribed to this show, Make Some Noise Podcast, on whatever podcast platform of your choice. And even more importantly, it would matter so much if you shared this show. Sharing the show is one of the few ways the podcast can grow, and that also gives more women an opportunity to make some noise in their lives. You can do that by taking a screenshot when you're listening on your phone and sharing it in your Instagram or Facebook stories. If you're on Instagram, you can tag me at Hey Andrea Owen, and I try my best to always re-share those and give you a quick thank you DM. And also you can tell your friends and family about it. Tell them what you learned, tell them a really awesome guest that you found on the show that you started following. Whatever it is, I appreciate so much you sharing about this show.
I'd like to introduce you to the Minimalist Moms podcast. It's hard enough being a mom, and the last thing you need is stress from too much stuff and an overcrowded schedule. For too long, I lived with the mindset that bigger was better, and the more I added to my life, instead of feeling better, I felt overwhelmed. It was time for a radical new mindset. Less is more. I'm not into extremes. I didn't throw everything away. My brand of minimalism is more about adding than subtracting. Get rid of the excess to make room for what you love. In other words, it's about living life with purpose. I hope you'll listen in, and my guest and myself can inspire you to think more and do with less. The Minimalist Moms podcast, available wherever you listen to podcasts.